Hi guys, good morning. I'm going to give it just a few minutes for everyone to load in. I see a lot of beautiful faces on the screen. Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Christina.
Good morning. All right, so I'm recording this, so you guys will get the recording. I love that I see so many amazing faces on my own team and people I coach. So I'm going to give it probably one more minute. Shara, if you want to also maybe share on the different Facebook groups as a reminder, if you want.
Okay, yeah, let me jump on there and do that real quick because I had put it on there yesterday, but I'll jump on there real quick and do it.
Awesome. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead, guys, I'm going to give it one more minute to get started. I know this is Monday, the week of a holiday, and we may or may not be super excited to be at a training already, but just know this is something we all need on every level. And I'm excited you guys are here. So.
No problem. Take your time.
Okay. Here we go. All right. Shara, I'm going to give it about 60 more seconds and then we'll go get started. Okay. Perfect. All right. We've got about 20 kicking. I'm going to go ahead. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. For sharing Kent, you guys can unmute yourself. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just start with an intro because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So my name's Christina Griffin. For those that are going to watch on the rewatch, many of my team and people I coach are on here as well. So you guys know who I am. I'm a team leader of an expansion team in Tampa and Middle Florida. Our team has sold a little over 4,000 homes, and I've been in the business for like 100 years, it seems. It's about 20 years. So the purpose of today is to hear a different voice. Many of you have seen me teach. Many of you have worked with me on the just transactions or me as your team leader. And the goal here today is to introduce you to two amazing people. I want you to really open your mind up to short sales and what's going to happen or what's already happening in this market. So the notice of defaults are extremely going up on a high level, and I'll share with you some resources if you would like on how to obtain that data. I also want you to understand that with forbearance getting ready to lift for the most part at the end of June, there's millions of homeowners that are coming out of forbearance, millions of homeowners that are delinquent. Yes, it's not like 2008. You've been hearing that. However, it's a situation where people haven't paid mortgage payments for the last 12 months in many circumstances. So our goal here is just to show you what the potential is and for you to be armed and ready to be able to succeed regardless. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Shara and Kent. Shara is she's head of Star Title, which is a great partner we use. And I just excited for her to be on here. Kent Dozark is I'm not going to say my personal short sale negotiator, but I think I've known you maybe 20 years. Hold on, you guys have to mute. You got to unmute, Kent. Hold on, let me unmute him. I think you have to unmute yourself on your end. So let's see, ask to unmute.
There we go.
Okay.
How about there?
Yes.
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
Yes, we've known each other.
And you've known my sister.
Yes, and his sister Lori. And
yes.
Kent has done many, many short sales for me. And when I say everyone says the last downturn when short sales were happening, I used to process my own until this amazing thing happened where I met him. And then title companies were able to start working with short sale negotiators and allowing it to work. So many of you are going to watch this and you're not in the state of Florida. I want you to open your mind up, especially market center owners, on how you can create a short sale department with your ancillary title business and to be able to help service your agents as well. So Shara, I'm going to go ahead and let you, well, first I'm going to say, Kent, why don't you introduce yourself? And then I think a perfect lead in to what we're going to teach today before Shara goes on is maybe explaining to everyone why it's so important to have a really great title company to work with on a short sale.
Okay, sure, absolutely. Well, welcome everybody. My name's Kent Dozark. I've been doing short sales since, goodness gracious, 2001. I was working in the corporate world and I started doing short sales on the side. And eventually I got to a point where I was making more money part-time than I was full-time in the corporate world. So I said, why stay here? So I started doing short sales with actually properties that I wanted to buy. And so what we did is we focused on the 3 counties around me, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas. And we did everything. We did from the ones that we would purchase, we did rehabs. So we would sell some of them. I kept the number of them as rentals, but I had to teach myself the process because, long story made short, nobody would help me. So out of everybody that I found that was in foreclosure that wanted help, the banks wouldn't help me, agents wouldn't help me because they didn't know what to do. So I just worked my way through the foreclosure and the short sale process from start to finish. And that's how I started. So I still purchase and sell foreclosures on my own. And then I help agents that come to me that need help through their title company, if they have one, with the short sale process. Because let's be honest, it can be draining.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the one that will continually call the banks nonstop 5-6 times a week on the phone, which alleviates the agents having to be involved on a daily basis. And it's really like Christina said, you got to have a good team. You got to have a good title company. That's where Shara is spot on. You got to have a good negotiator. That's where I can help you. And that alleviates a lot of the homeowner anguish and not knowing what's going on, as well as the agents, the buyer's agents. I stay in touch with them on a constant basis. So everybody's on the same page from start to finish. There's no surprises. So I would be happy to work with all of you. My door's open to you at any time if you want to call me. And every agent is able to do we all like the properties that are, worth 500 grand and only owe 200 grand and there's a 300 grand profit, but those are easy. If you can do short sales, you can do everything for the homeowner. Mm-hmm. And that completes the process. So you're able to help homeowners in every different type of situation: bankruptcy, foreclosure, divorce, etc.
And Kent, I'm going to let Shara talk.
Yes.
And then I'm so excited about the content you're going to share. What is the part and role of a title company in a short sale, and why is it so important to have a great title company? And I'm going to use an example. One of my agents used another title company who did a search for them on a property. Needed to have the liens and the full title report back, and a week and a half went by. She said, Christina, they haven't got back to me. Shara got it back to me in less than 24 hours. So I'd love you to explain why it's so important, and then Shara can say hello, and then we can dive into content.
Sure. The thing that we like to do is, instead of waiting for a purchase contract, right off the bat, when you even have a listing agreement, send that into the title company and they can do the title search right there. And then that way we know what's on the radar screen. If there's liens, if there's judgments, if there's a partial claim advance, if there's a second mortgage, there's always surprises. And so we like to mitigate those right from day one. And that's where the title company is key to the castle. And on top of that, throughout the process, we have to continually get updated lien payoffs, and more importantly, updated HUDs, updated ALTAs. That's an ongoing process from start to finish. The banks are going to come back to us and say, hey, we're not going to allow this on the seller side of the HUD. We're only going to allow, $1,500 to go towards the seller's liens. And so it's just like flying a plane. You're continually making adjustments as you go from the start to the completion of a successful short sale. And the title company is key to that process, especially a prompt response. And Share is perfect for that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great segue.
Thank you, Kent.
Oh, you're welcome.
So
Share,
I think what's super important about what he just said was it's not just with retail deals like what we're doing now. It's even more important on a short sale for the fact that they're usually going to be in more financial distress than anything we're going to see on a retail deal right now. So even though we do that for our agents now, we'll pull a prelim commitment if they're not sure how much they owe on their mortgage, or they think they might have a lien out there and they don't know if they want to take the listing or not. We'll go ahead and do that. And we have no problem doing that at all. But when you can get ahead of the curve, then you'll know if it's even going to be possible. So once Kent gets to look at the commitment and knows, hey, we ordered a payoff, or we did a lien search, or there's 10 IRS liens, we're going to know, and he's going to know. And when everybody's kind of cohesively working together, it makes a very tense, it's already tense in retail, as you guys know, but when you're talking short sales and foreclosures, emotions are high coming from that seller. And, you know, the agent's trying to handle it. Kent's trying to work with them. We're trying to work with them, and then in turn work with him. Like he said, getting numbers back and forth. And you really have to have a team, a completely cohesive team between realtor, short sale negotiator, and a title company that are all on the same page, that have the same gas factor, that have all those things to make it as seamless as possible in a situation that's really not great for your seller. And you want to try to make it the best experience, because you don't ever know when the next time is they might be in the position to buy a house or sell their home again. So I think that hard deals are great to come through in, and to have that team there, because that really shows what you're made of. It's not just the easy get up and go kind of thing.
And Kent is your preferred short sale negotiator to work with for Star Title. So
Absolutely, yes.
So guys, Shara and Kent will both post in the chat the best way to get a hold of them. I will also be sending it out with the recording as well. And Shara, you can do anything in the state of Florida, correct?
Absolutely, yes. I run the entire state of Florida for Star Title. So anything that you guys need done, we can, whether it's retail, foreclosure, refi, whatever it is, we can handle it in the state of Florida.
And if someone has a short sale in Jacksonville, Kent can do that. You could do the title work, even though you're not there local.
That's absolutely right.
How can they close? Because a lot of agents believe they need a title company that's 5 minutes from them. How do you close when you're not a local?
Well, what we do is, I'll go you one better, is we send a mobile closer.
Okay.
So we actually send it to them, and normally that's something that we will kind of eat out of our profit just to make it easier on the realtor and the seller. We'll send them to wherever's convenient for them. They sign, it's easy peasy. The docs come back to us, we fund, we're good to go. So it doesn't matter where they're at. And a lot of people nowadays especially prefer that than to coming into office.
Perfect. So, okay. So guys, having your team's important. Many of you have heard me teach about having your team and what that looks like. I have another course launch for my MAPS foreclosures and short sales course. It's 12 weeks. It's middle of June. So that's just on the MAPS coaching page. I would love you guys to be present. I'm going to answer Chris Matthews' question. So with that, make sure we are not closing on Friday, so then it can fund on time. Is that right, Shara?
No, I just replied to that. We fund on scan backs from the mobile notary. So as soon as they're done with the closing, what they do is they scan everything back and email it to my closer or to myself, and then they drop the originals in FedEx. But I always authorize funding on scan backs as long as we have them.
That's wonderful. So Chris, definitely no delay. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to just do a minute on prospecting info. Many of you that are not on my team, you need a place to be able to find the data to create potential short sales. Yes, not everything's going to be a short sale, but when a property does become a notice of default, it is public knowledge, and there are a ton of notice of defaults that are happening now on every level. So I personally use Red-X. Red-X, the reason why I use it is because it scrubs the do not call. And it's very important to have a system that scrubs the do not call. So I definitely highly recommend Red-X. Now in my course, I do teach how to prospect for this information. I'm going to also show another one I highly recommend, and it's free the first week because you have to have the data. Ideally, you guys becoming the community expert in your community, where people that know, like, and trust you, people that are in a forbearance situation, they know to come to you to find out what their options are. So the foreclosure and eviction ban lifts June 30th. The way it's happened the last year, it could happen again. I really don't think it will this time because they have some relief coming out. However, after 18 months of people skipping a mortgage payment, those payments are not forgiven. They're added to what they owe on the home. Ideally, people that have bought a home in the last few years are perfect situation and candidates for a short sale. So I'm going to just show you one quick system, and then I'm going to let Kent dive into how best to work with him and what a short sale negotiator does. So we're in Florida, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull Tampa, Florida here. Now, many people think, and it's because you don't know what you don't know, that there's no pre-foreclosures because of the moratoriums. That is not the case. So if you go to Tampa, Florida, and you just go to pre-foreclosures, there is 1,266 notice of defaults in Tampa, Florida. So yes, there are pre-foreclosures. Yes, they are happening. This system is called Prop Stream, and it's a wonderful system. It's a little expensive, but it's wonderful. Now, 1,609 pre-foreclosures in Orlando. So yes, there are pre-foreclosures. Yes, they are happening. And I teach you how to have the conversations to convert the opportunities. And many people think, I don't want to do a short sale because it's a pain, there's too much work. So I'm going to let Kent share his process and why it's not a pain, because when you have the right team to help you process, how it's going to make things easier for you. So
Okay, yeah.
Until I've had a lot of coffee this morning. So go ahead, Kent.
Oh no, you're spot on. You're spot on. I appreciate it. Christina's exactly right. A lot of agents will try to steer clear of them because they can be time intensive. However, that's where I can help you, and that's where Shara can help you. Is that I'm here to alleviate all the day in, day out follow-ups. Both. So basically, what happens is you come to me with a listing agreement, the short sale addendum to the listing agreement, the MLS sheet, your broker synopsis, buyer proof of funds, et cetera, purchase contract with the short sale addendum. And I'm going to take that, get a third party authorization with the seller and get all that initiated. Well, the biggest thing with your owners is they want to know what's going on. So I literally take them by the hand. I explain to them the whole process. And I explained to them that the reason for doing all this is so that they can successfully get out of this loan, get a deficiency waiver, which is huge. That's the whole reason to do a short sale. I also will outline to them that this is the only time that we can ask for any relocation funds for them. Most of your short sale people are going to be upside down. And I will say this as well, is that even though there's a moratorium on mortgages right now, homeowner associations are foreclosing right and left. They haven't stopped for anything. So most of your auctions that I watch on a daily basis in the 3 counties around me are homeowner association auctions. And that's a big problem. A lot of homeowners will think, okay, I can work with my bank and neglect the homeowner association. Not so. Those days are gone. The homeowner associations are now foreclosing if those liens are unpaid. But going back to the outline that I was covering is that I'm going to then reach out to the bank. The homeowner is going to be able to communicate directly with the negotiator at the bank. The agent knows what's going on. The buyer's agent knows what's going on. The buyer knows what's going on. Seller, everybody's on the same path. So there's no surprises. Everybody's kept up to date. When I have to submit a new HUD, I let everybody know. So and of course they can call me at any time. So I have a lot of sellers that will just, once I introduce them to the negotiator at the bank, they know that they can call that person multiple times. So it's just a process. I try to alleviate all the pain from the process for both the homeowner and the agent. And that's where the title company comes in. I work day in, day out with them, and we work to just make it as smooth as possible. They may take a little bit of time. They're not as quick as a retail sale, but they are still a good, the money's just as good as any other sale. So we work as a team, so to speak.
I think another great, I'm sorry, Ken, I didn't mean to.
Go ahead, Chair, go ahead. I was just going to hit the documents.
Another great thing is that it just came to mind, so I apologize, is I went through, just like Christina and Kent did, the 07, 08, 09 horrificness. And a lot of mortgage companies, the government, a lot of people said, oh, we're going to modify for you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to make it right. And at least half of them did not. Tons and tons of people submitted for that modification, that subordination agreement, that whatever they needed to try to make it right on their first mortgage, and they didn't, and they got foreclosed on. So just like Christina just showed the numbers, it's not going to be like 07 or 08, but it's going to become more and more prevalent. You see the numbers she just showed as of currently today, and we haven't even hit June when they end the forbearance stuff. So it's important to have that streamline of business and not just be solely focusing on retail, because it is going to come back. And every one of these people are not going to get full forbearance forgiveness. I can promise you it's not going to happen. It didn't happen then, and it won't happen again now. There will be some loophole, something will happen, something will be fine, and they won't be able to make up 12, 14, 15 months worth of house payments.
Right. Exactly right. The other thing that I'll add as well is when I get involved, I will have the homeowner, I actually prepare a letter for the homeowner to sign and then send in to the clerk of the court as well as the plaintiff's attorney. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
The foreclosures are, it's a lawsuit. So a lot of homeowners will just take that pack once they've been served by the process server, and they stick it to the side or on their dining room table, and they don't look at it. But it will tell the homeowner in there that they have 20 days to respond in writing, and that is critical. So the homeowner can hire an attorney at that point if they want to have legal representation. But if they don't have the money or don't want to do that, I actually have a letter that I give homeowners that they can sign. It states to the clerk of the court that they're aware of the foreclosure and that they're trying to sell the property. So that way they can't be defaulted. In Florida, if you don't respond in writing to that lawsuit, that Liz Pendens, Rick Scott put the teeth back into the foreclosure law back in about 2011. And so if you don't respond in writing, the clerk of the court will default the homeowner, and they'll say that this is an uncontested sale. And it allows the plaintiff's attorney to go much quicker through the court system. And we want to stall that. We want to put that roadblock into place. And we can do that by addressing the lawsuit. I would always recommend that they hire an attorney, but most homeowners that I deal with, they don't have the money and they don't want to do that. So I have a communication already prepared for them that they can file with the clerk as well as the plaintiff's attorney and the homeowner association attorney.
That's
it proves to be a big help.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. And I love that on every level. And question to you. So I'm looking at the best way for agents to get started with you. Can we go over what is required that they need to get to you? And I love this note about sellers can stop paying the mortgage payment but about keeping utilities on and why that's so important. Maybe you could explain that and what's required.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's very important. A lot of your homeowners will pull the plug literally on everything. What I want to have the homeowners understand is that I know that they're going through financial hardship, but the things that I need for them to do is they can stop making their mortgage payment. They can stop paying the property taxes. They can stop paying the hazard insurance, the homeowner's insurance. Yes, the bank will put in forced place coverage, but we're selling the property and that's not going to come out of their pocket. It's going to be paid at closing. So that leaves probably one of the most key players in Florida, and that's the homeowner association. Do not let the homeowner association get mad at you. Keep them current and keep them happy. You want to make sure that they're not going to lien the property. And so a lot of times every deal is a little bit different, but I'll reach out directly to the homeowner association, let them know what's going on so that they're not sitting there going, what's going on with this homeowner? Because the last thing that you want the homeowner association to do is to get irritated with the homeowner, and then they send the file to an attorney, and then they start a separate foreclosure process, and they can go much quicker because they can stay in county court, not civil court, because most of their liens are below 15 grand. So a lot of times I'll have a homeowner over here and they think everything's fine and they're working some kind of a modification with the bank, and then over here they've neglected the homeowner association. The homeowner association has already started a foreclosure, and it takes people by surprise all the time. So keep the water and lights on, keep the utilities up and running, and keep the homeowner association current. Everything else we can work around. So that is key for them to understand. And you're going to get people at every stage. You're going to get some people that have only missed a few homeowner association payments, and you're going to get some people that have missed a year's worth of their payments. But we step in immediately and try to mitigate that damage.
Yeah, I think people don't realize too, I've seen in foreclosures and even in some retail deals lately where once it gets to the point they send it to an attorney, those attorneys' fees rack up fast when they throw on that, and they make us wait forever. And I think you'd agree, Kent, they'll make you wait forever for that HOA payoff. And by the time you get it, they've tacked on fees, interest, attorney's fees, and it's blown up way beyond what your initial just HOA dues were.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of homeowners will, when I speak with them, I'll say, well, how much do you owe them? Oh, I think I only owe them $400 or $500. Cher is exactly right. When we send in that request for a current payoff, it'll be $4,000, $5,000. Once that attorney gets that file in hand and files an action at the courthouse, it's Katie bar the door. They've included all the late fees. They add interest to it. They'll stick everything on possible. And then the homeowners throws up their hands going, I don't have $5,000 to bring the homeowner association current. So we try to get ahead of that curve and alleviate that before that's happened. Because a lot of times your sellers' banks will only allow a year's worth of the assessments to be paid at closing on the seller side of the HUD. So what do we do with the rest? We have to then go to the buyer in many cases and say, hey, look, we're going to have to stick this on the buyer side of the HUD because the seller's lender won't allow this dollar amount to be on that side. They're not paying that. So we have to ask the buyer to pay that.
Perfect.
Does that outline that well enough?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. But to your question, to your statement about what agents need, literally it's just this, it's all your normal documents. What I need an agent to come to me with mainly is a motivated seller. You've got to have somebody that wants to solve the problem. There's too many times where I'll be dealing with a seller and I'll say, hey, the bank's looking for your 2 most recent bank statements. They're looking for your most recent tax return. It's got to be signed on page 2 on the 1040 at the bottom. And I'll get a seller that will just drag their feet. That's not what you want. You want a seller that is motivated, that's going to listen to me, listen to you, listen to Shara, so that if I need something, if the bank is asking for something, that seller is Johnny on the spot and they can provide it quickly. They can send it to me, they can send it to the bank. It doesn't make any difference. All the heavy lifting on a short sale is on the front end. So from an agent, I just need your normal listing agreement, the short sale addendum to the listing agreement, the MLS sheet. You're going to have a buyer sooner rather than later. So your purchase contract, your short sale addendum to the purchase contract, buyer proof of funds for the entire purchase price. Some buyers come in with financing and they'll send me a pre-qual letter for only 80% of the purchase price. I need a proof of funds letter, a bank statement, a bank letter for that other 20% so that I can show that seller's lender that this person can cover that purchase 100%. Not just a pre-qual, I also need a proof of funds letter or a bank letter. And then everything else after that will come from the seller. The bank will usually require them to fill out a hardship package. Normal requirements are 2 years worth of tax returns, your 2 most recent consecutive months worth of bank statements, your 2 most recent consecutive months worth of pay stubs. If they're self-employed, they'll want a 90-day profit and loss statement. And then anything else that the bank wants, the homeowner just has to be able to supply those immediately. Once all that's done, the bank will then do a BPO or an appraisal or both. And from that, they'll either accept or they'll counter the offer. It's actually a very simple process. It's just paperwork. The homeowner doesn't need to fix the house. They don't need to repair the roof. They don't need to do any of that kind of stuff. If there's a broken window, leave it broken. Don't fix the house up. I don't want the homeowner to spend any money. I want them to save that money because they're going to be buying a house from you at some future date. We just want to get them out of this situation so that they can get back on their feet, recover their credit, and move forward with their life. But again, all the heavy lifting is on the front end, and it's just paperwork. That's all that it is.
Awesome. So I did take and put up one of your sheets, Kent, on how they can get a hold of you if they want to take a photo of that. And I'm actually getting ready to add it to Google just so I can drop the link in there.
Okay.
But I love the just how it explains everything. Those that are on my team or have taken my course, I do have the step-by-step with all the forms and documents as well. But I love hearing it from someone like you that deals with this and helps them. Question to you, Kent. In essence, because you're dealing with the negotiation side of things, an agent does not need, they're not the ones calling the bank. So in essence, an agent just needs to be an agent, correct? They need to list the property. They need to have the right forms and addendums, and then, be able to communicate with the seller if there's a problem.
Correct. What I do is on my third-party authorization, I add the listing agent and the title company so that if that agent does want to speak to the bank, they can. And if the bank wants to reach out to the agent, they can. Every short sale is a little bit different. Some banks will always just call me directly. Some banks want to include the listing agent. Some banks want to include eventually, obviously, the title company. But at the initial stages, I put everybody on that third-party authorization. I'm the one doing all the phone calls, all the emails. I CC everybody, so everybody's on the same page. But yes, the critical thing I want the agents to understand is they're not involved in the quicksand of day-to-day, weekly phone calls and emails. I do all that stuff for them, and that saves them all the time so that they can go on and list other properties.
Awesome. So I love that on every level. I would love, and I know we're getting towards our time. I'd love you to tell the agents also why it's so important that they're at a BPO. A lot of agents they don't understand the importance around a BPO and what that does for the property, as well as cash for keys and your success and what you're seeing cash for keys being accepted right now. Because a lot of agents, I think if they understood cash for keys, they can properly convey that to their client a little bit better.
Well, what we are dealing with in today's foreclosure market is that if agents were around when the Mortgage Relief Protection Act was in place from 2007 to 2014, more of your banks were mandated to pay some kind of relocation cost, whether it was 3,000, 5,000, or 10,000. Unfortunately, the Congress never made it permanent and never renewed it. So nowadays, it's really up to each individual underwriter, each individual bank. What I do when I start the short sale is I will always tell the homeowner that the whole reason to do this is to get the deficiency waiver. I always ask for money with the bank in terms of a relocation incentive, but I don't always want the homeowner to count on that money to begin with. So my typical conversation with the homeowners is I'll just say, hey, look, the whole reason to do this is to save you. And the byproduct, the end result of this is going to be a deficiency waiver. You're going to get an approval letter. I can send you an example of what that approval letter is going to look like. In this approval letter, they're letting you off the hook. So if they're not getting, if you owe them 250 grand and they're only netting 200 grand at closing, they're letting you off the hook for that 50 grand. That's the deficiency waiver. And that's the whole reason to do a short sale. Now, Mr. Homeowner, Mrs. Homeowner, what I am going to do, but I don't want you to count on it, is this is the only time I can ask for any relocation funds. So I'm going to ask for $10,000. It will be on the initial HUD to the bank as a relocation incentive because you cannot profit at close. You can't make any profit on line 603 on the HUD. So we're going to ask for a relocation. Now, I want you to understand, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, that I don't want you to mentally start spending this money. There's no guarantee here. Some banks pay it, some banks don't. I've had some banks lower that fee, the relocation incentive, down to 5,000. I've had some banks lower it to 3,000. I've had some banks move it down to 1,500. And then I've had, unfortunately, some banks, they'll let it sit on the HUD all the way up until we're 2 weeks out from closing. And then they'll say, hey, look, we're in order to issue this approval letter, we're not going to pay this homeowner any relocation incentive because the property is vacant. I just had that happen to a homeowner here in Riverview. So every bank is different. And I guess it's not a problem for the homeowner to know that, but I don't want the homeowner to then start counting on it because you'll have homeowners that will start spending that money. And even though it's not guaranteed. As to the BPO, are you referencing when the bank comes out to do the BPO, or are you referencing something?
When the bank comes out to do the BPO, I see a lot of hang up where the listing agent won't be at the property. So if there's a roof leak or if there's something going on with the home, the agent that's getting paid $50 to do the BPO doesn't know. So
You're exactly right.
It's important to be there and take this serious.
Yes, you're exactly right. Once the bank has a complete package, they're then, as I indicated earlier, going to do a broker price opinion or do an appraisal, or some of your banks will do both. And it doesn't make any difference whether they're doing the BPO or the appraisal. It's critical for that homeowner, the list agent, to be present. And a lot of times I will talk to the appraiser or to the agent, and I'll outline with them. I try to do a three-way conversation with the listing agent because I want that agent doing the BPO to understand what's going on. I'll say, hey, look, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job. That's the last thing I'm here to do. But I do want you to understand that this is a short sale. And it started here. Here's your case number. Here's how far we are in the court process. Here's how far along we are in the short sale process. This is the current offer on the property. And the homeowner has listed these things as issues with the house. There's been some flooding in the back room. All that wood back there is rotten. There's termite damage over here. We've got an estimate from a termite company. This is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to paint a realistic picture for that agent that's going to do the BPO or the appraiser, because the last thing I want them to do is A, not understand what the situation is for the homeowner at the current time, and B, go back to their office and send in a high appraisal that's way out of whack, high BPO that's way out of whack for the bank. And then the bank thinks the property's sitting on gold. and when in fact it's not. So the two biggest stick in the muds for short sales are a homeowner association that's aggressive and a bank that has a BPO that's unrealistic and they think the property's worth more than it is. So I've had a lot of agents that are ahead of the curve and they'll have the research already in place because we've already had that conversation and they know that the BPO is going to be ordered at some point in time. Some of the banks will call the agent directly. Some of the banks will call me directly. Either way, I'm usually prepared with the listing agent and they've already had the research so that we can just hand that to the appraiser and say, this is the situation. This is what's going on. These are the problems with the property, because we want them to understand the whole thing and not come in with a way out of whack, too high appraisal or BPO.
I love it.
Does that help?
Love it. Perfect response. Perfect response.
Okay.
Guys, we've taken 30 minutes over that of your time for a Monday morning. I'm very thankful for you to be here. The goal was, again, for you to understand there's opportunity, what it's important to have great people in your world that are on your team, and what this looks like. So I wanted to open it up in case anyone has any questions, and I'll make sure to get to Shara the recording so it can also be sent out for those that were not present today.
Outstanding.
Any questions, guys?
I do. Is there any way, like, to use you guys in our marketing when we're marketing to these people, or would you prefer that to not be the case? I just feel like a lot, a lot of the times that I don't get responses, it's just because they think I'm just an agent who's just trying to get money out of them versus someone with a team behind me that's going to help them. So
I'll make sure to get something designed within compliance. So I know that there's a certain size that in disclosure. So Chris, I'll make sure to get that, and then I'll share it for other agents that are not directly within our team. So that's a really great idea.
Okay, sweet. Thanks.
And if I can add anything to that, my sister and we still work as a team, and the marketing materials that we send out, we primarily focus on people that are in pre-foreclosure, and the marketing materials that we send out all outline distress and our ability to help them with that. So to the end that you can have marketing materials that allow you to portray that you can assist people that are in a bad financial situation, absolutely. And literally, I include the title agent and myself and the listing agent on our stuff that we send out personally. But yeah, absolutely, anything that you can use to convey to that homeowner that you can help them is going to help you.
All right, yeah, because I mean, like Christina said, we have 1,600 notices of default alone just in Orlando, and so I want to, try and touch that. So.
In my mind, I'm thinking short sale negotiator team title that have collectively done thousands of short sale transactions. So we can definitely put some powerful marketing together and get it approved. I love that idea, Chris. So does anyone have any technical questions for Kent? And I'll make sure to get you the recording. I'm excited about being able to offer homeowners options. This is just one option. So we need to just understand what it looks like,
right.
And to be able to offer them the option around it.
May I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely.
And if the answer has to be brief, that's fine. I can follow up with Kent later. So good morning, Kent.
Good morning.
So I've done a couple short sales where I represented the seller, and I've done one where I represented the buyer. For the seller, it was Bank of America was the mortgage company.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the system. I think it starts with an E.
Equator.
Equator or something like that.
Equator.
Equator, yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's an electronic platform that they use. Yes.
I had to go in there constantly and check for updates, and their turnaround times were real fast. So if I'm representing a seller, would that be me doing that? Would that be you doing that? Would that be a combination? going into Equator to check for updates?
Normally, I just have the listing agent give me their username and password for Equator, and I do all that.
Oh, okay. Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a huge time saver.
He does all the systems, ResNet, Acceleris, Pyramid, all the systems they require. He goes in and deals with all of that. And he's done that personally with me. So I highly recommend. Delegation is important.
Okay, excellent. And then,
Yeah, some of your banks are not, they want to use an electronic platform, some don't, but I like Equator. I actually, it allows me to keep the bank on track.
yeah.
But I understand where you're coming from. Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. And then for the buyer, I'm sure you'll love this one. It was Mr. Cooper.
Oh,
Yes.
And I had to do a lot representing the buyer. And I don't know if that's because of the list agent or if that was just part of when you're working with the buyer, or if it was Mr. Cooper. So representing a buyer is what should the expectation be there?
Well, again, I have an approach where everybody knows what's going on at the same time. So your requirements are usually less as a buyer as opposed to a seller in a short sale. But your biggest problem, and it sounds to me like this is what you're talking about, your biggest issue will be, unfortunately, some agents that are either new, or I've had a number of agents that have other jobs and they just don't tend to any of the tasks.
Right.
And so stuff doesn't get done. And I'm doing all that, even though they may be asking the agent to do that. But that's typically the only time I'll run into that, is if you have a listing agent that just is unresponsive, or for whatever reason, they're off doing other things. But I try to eliminate that as an issue. So you'll find, if you're working with me, that you're not going to have that problem. I'm going to be ahead of the curve. I'm going to let you know. I like to communicate. Typically, I'll be dealing with the homeowner directly, with the listing agent directly, with you as a buyer's agent directly, if those are the circumstances. I'll usually want you, if you're representing the buyer, to communicate with the buyer. I usually stay out of that direct communication with the buyer.
Okay. Just
because I want you to maintain that integrity of, if you're the buyer's agent, you're dealing with them. The buyer is not the one that's in a foreclosure situation. On the seller side of the fence, it's a whole different story, and I'm involved personally with them. But typically, buyer and buyer agent, I'm letting the buyer's agent deal directly with their client.
Okay, excellent.
But you shouldn't have those problems. You're not going to have those issues with me. I can tell you that right now. You're not going to have those issues with Shara.
Yeah.
No, not at
those are
all.
just yeah. She's on top of it. Christina's on top of it. We don't mess around when it comes to stuff like that.
So,
Okay, excellent.
so I do want to explain.
Thank you.
Mr. Cooper, they do have a very limited service platform. So their agents work directly, most of them for them. So I'm going to assume, James, that's probably why it felt like you had to do a lot, because it goes through their platform and they put a lot of that responsibility on the buyer's agents. But we can totally step in with that. And I'd recommend, guys, when you're working on the buyer side, ask the other agent how many short sales they successfully negotiated, and share with them Kent's info in our title company, because they can totally use them in even on the listing side. So, hey, I don't, in the way the conversation is I don't know what type of experience level you have. I have a short sale negotiator that's not going to cost your seller anything out of pocket. And a great title company that's super user friendly. In case you would like their information, here you go. He has a very high success rate, and I highly recommend it. So part of the buyer stuff, we got to take some of that control. And a lot of you guys are going to listen as market center owners. This is a great value add to be able to add a short sale department to your offices. So I can definitely talk to you how to do that, but just having someone that's reliable like Kent or someone you can train to process these is going to help with a lot of success. So, okay, guys, any more questions? We've kept you a super long time, and I'm so excited that you were here on a Monday morning, and I'm excited for us to help a lot of homeowners.
Can I ask
Hey,
a-
Christina, can I add something real quick?
Yep.
Christina, can I add something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
All I'll say is this, is that if you can solve the homeowner's problem when they're in a foreclosure, they never forget you. I've had some agents that have gone on to sell that homeowner 2 or 3 houses down the road. So, and then they refer everybody to you that's having a problem. Oh, I got my cousin's in bankruptcy. Can you help them? So it's not just this one deal. My sister has had, she's made a lot of money from referrals and friends and cousins. So like I said at the beginning, if you can solve the foreclosure problem with a homeowner, then that opens the door for a lot of future business, referrals, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure Christina would agree with me there.
I agree, because it's one transaction is going to lead to many others, because you're there helping them and providing solutions. So I think
Absolutely.
that's an awesome way to wrap it up. Guys, I'm going to put this recording on YouTube and share this with Shara, and I'm excited. And if you guys need anything, let us know. I unfortunately have to go to
Absolutely.
another training, but I really appreciate everyone's time this morning.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank
Talk to you
you. Thank you,
later.
Shara. Thank you,
Thank you, Ken. I
Christina.
appreciate the
Bye.
information.
Thank you.